So I found out something about my family, and honestly, I wish I hadn't. It started at a cake tasting. You know the kind of place. Minimalist decor, soft lighting, and somehow every tiny slice costs as much as a full meal. I was sitting there with this little fork in my hand, trying to decide between flavors, when my mom suddenly decided it was the perfect moment to give a lecture on finances. Right there, between bites of buttercream. She waited until the staff stepped away, smiled like everything was normal, and then casually said that couples who care about their future don't waste money trying to impress people. My dad nodded like she had just said something profound. My fiancé looked at me from the side like, is this seriously happening right now? And yeah, apparently it was. What made it worse wasn't even the comment itself. My mom has always had this talent. She can say something cutting in the calmest tone possible. So if you react, you end up looking like the problem. No, what really got to me was the timing. Because just 2 months earlier, my sister had her wedding. And when I say expensive, I mean ridiculously expensive. There were flowers hanging from the ceiling, live musicians playing songs nobody in our family even listens to, and a dessert table that looked like it belonged in an art gallery. And my parents? They were thrilled, proud, throwing money at it like it was a celebration of their own success. Meanwhile, my fiancé and I were planning something simple. Nothing extravagant, just a nice, meaningful day. We both work full-time. We've got rent, loans, car problems that somehow never end, and grocery bills that make you question your life choices in the yogurt aisle. We weren't trying to impress anyone, but suddenly every time my parents got involved, it turned into a lecture about responsibility, about discipline, about not being wasteful. Funny how all of that only became important when it was my wedding. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe something changed financially. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe I was overthinking it. But my fiancé wasn't buying it. He said something felt off. I didn't want to believe that yet, because there's a certain kind of realization. The one where you start seeing a pattern in how people treat you, and you also realize you've been ignoring it for years. That one hit's different. A few days later, my mom texted me, one of those—
Every media outlet had proclaimed that my new venture was a flop. Not just a flop, but a big, bold flop, they call it. I can still remember the day I opened up USA Today and read the headline, "Oprah not quite standing on her own." It really was, this time last year, the worst period in my professional life. I was stressed.
No warmth. Just enough to make it feel like a request that wasn't really optional. So I went. My sister was already there, technically. She was on speakerphone, talking about her honeymoon plans. Some luxury resort, private dinners, all-inclusive everything. The kind of place where even the walls probably cost extra. And my parents? They were reassuring her, telling her not to worry, saying they'd figured out, that they could move things around. And in that moment, I just stopped, because suddenly, everything clicked. All those lectures, all those comments about saving money, all that talk about being practical, it wasn't about responsibility, it was about priorities. And somehow, I wasn't included in that priority list. The realization landed so cleanly, it almost made me nauseous. My mom said my sister deserved a beautiful beginning after the stress of planning such a big wedding. My dad added that it would be smart to adjust spending elsewhere for now. Elsewhere. That was me. I was the elsewhere. They didn't even notice me standing there at first. They were too busy solving my sister's urgent need to relax in a luxury resort somewhere far away. Then my mom turned and saw me, and for just a second, a very small second, her expression shifted. Not guilt. Something closer to annoyance, like I had shown up too early to a surprise she hadn't finished hiding. She ended the call quickly, offered me coffee, started moving around the kitchen like if she stayed busy enough, explanations wouldn't be necessary. I said no, sat down, and forced myself to act normal. Honestly, that took more effort than any workout I've ever done. They started making small talk. Napkin colors, work updates, I answered politely, like I was reading from a script someone else had written. But inside, every thought was pushing to come out. I just needed to be sure. Because when people think you don't know what's going on, they relax. They say more than they should. And they did. More comments about budgeting. More speeches about responsibility. More subtle digs about people who overspend to impress others. I agreed with them, and that seemed to comfort them, which, honestly, made everything worse. On the drive home, I had to pull over. Not for anything dramatic, just because my hands were shaking too much to keep driving. And that's when everything started replaying. Not just today. Everything. The dress I didn't get in 8th grade because money was tight. Right around the same time my sister got braces and a new laptop. The college visits we skipped for me because of gas costs, right before they paid for her out-of-state summer program. It was like every sacrifice in our family had quietly landed on my side, and every luxury had somehow found its way to hers. Like it was intentional, or worse, automatic. When I got home, my fiancé took one look at me and muted the TV. I told him everything. Every word, every detail, especially the phrase, other areas.
And I was frustrated, and quite frankly, I was embarrassed. It doesn't matter how far you might rise. At some point, you are bound to stumble, because if you're constantly doing what we do, raising the bar, if you are constantly pushing yourself higher, the law of averages.
And for once, he didn't try to soften it. He just said it straight. So they're cutting your wedding to pay for her honeymoon. Hearing it like that, it didn't hurt less, but it made everything clear. The confusion disappeared, and in its place was anger. Not messy anger, focused anger. The kind that actually gets things done. I barely slept that night. Just lay there, staring at the ceiling, mentally going back and forth between being the bigger person and being done with that role forever. By morning, I had my answer. If they wanted me to be financially responsible, fine. I was about to take that idea very seriously. The next day, we met our wedding planner. Tiny office above a flower shop. And I walked in with a notebook like I was preparing for a courtroom argument. My fiancé sat next to me, calm as always, but I could tell he was enjoying this a little. Not the conflict, just the fact that I had finally stopped second-guessing myself. I told the planner we were making changes, not because we had to, but because we were done pretending this wedding belonged to anyone except us. She paused for a second, probably trying to figure out if I was spiraling. Then she did the best possible thing. She got practical. The contracts came out. Options were listed. And we started cutting. And honestly, the more we removed, the better everything felt. Turns out, most of the expensive stuff wasn't even for us. It was for my parents, the oversized venue my mom loved for photos, the overpriced caterer my dad insisted on because of some work event, the endless guest list full of people I barely knew. Gone. We chose a smaller space, simpler menu, a DJ instead of a live band, beer, wine, one signature drink. No one would suffer. We cut the welcome baskets, the luxury transport, the over-the-top decorations I never even liked. At one point I told the planner, my main feature now is staying within my own budget. She laughed. I didn't. Then came the guest list, and that part felt almost sacred. Every extra name my parents had pushed in, every distant relative, every important connection. We removed them, one by one, not out of spite, but because for the first time, this actually felt like our wedding. And somewhere in the middle of all that, something shifted. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about boundaries. And for the first time in my life, maybe I was just done translating my pain into something easier for them to ignore. Either way, her tears didn't land the way they used to. I didn't comfort her. I didn't soften my tone. I just said very clearly, I'm not sharing my wedding. Not the day. Not the trip. Not the spotlight. This isn't the group project. She tried to interrupt, but I kept going. For once, I'm not adjusting myself to make this family more comfortable. Then I hung up. And something strange happened after that. Not relief. Not immediately. But quiet. The kind of quiet that feels unfamiliar at first because you're so used to noise. Expectations, pressure, guilt, performance. That night, my fiancé and I sat on the couch. No TV, no phones, just sitting there. And he said something simple. "I'm proud of you." And that hit harder than everything else. Because it wasn't about winning an argument. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about finally choosing myself. Without asking permission first. The next few days were quiet in a different way. No calls from my mom. No checking in messages from extended family. Just silence. And honestly, that silence told me everything. Because for the first time, I wasn't playing my usual role. I wasn't explaining. I wasn't apologizing. I wasn't shrinking things down to keep the peace. And without that, they didn't quite know how to reach me. Wedding planning continued. And this time it actually felt like ours. We picked things because we liked them. Not because they photographed well. Not because someone else would approve. The guest list stayed small. The venue felt warm. The whole thing felt real. Not impressive. Not performative. Just honest. A week before the wedding, my mom finally called. Her voice was careful. Controlled. She asked if there was still a place for them to attend. Not help. Not decide. Just attend. And for a moment, I thought about everything. All the history. All the patterns. All the times I had bet myself into something smaller just to keep things smooth. And then I said, "Yes, you're welcome to come." But I didn't offer anything more than that. No reassurances. No emotional cleanup. Just the boundary. The wedding day came. And it wasn't perfect. But it was peaceful. No tension in the air. No performance. No invisible scoreboard. Just people who actually wanted to be there. My parents showed up. They were polite. Quieter than usual. My sister came too. She kept her distance. And for once, I didn't chase after any of it. Because the truth is, nothing magical happened. No big apology. No dramatic realization. They didn't suddenly change. But I did. And that changed everything. At some point during the night, standing there with my husband, watching people laugh and talk and exist without all that pressure, I realized something. Fairness wasn't something I was ever going to be given. It was something I had to create by deciding what I would accept and what I wouldn't. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the other area. I wasn't the backup plan. I wasn't the quieter option. I was just, despite everything. For a second, nobody moved. Not my future mother-in-law. Not the aunt with the pasta salad. Not even me. It was like the air itself paused to see what I would do. My mother gave a small, controlled smile, the kind meant to suggest dignity instead of intrusion. She said she just wanted to stop by, that she didn't want to cause a scene, which, in my experience, usually means a scene has already been scheduled. She held out the gift bag like it was a peace offering, and I just looked at it, because in that moment, everything was there. All the history, all the patterns, all the times something had been handed to me, instead of something actually being repaired. I stood up slowly, walked over, didn't take the bag, just said, calmly, "You shouldn't be here." Not loud, not emotional, just clear. Her smile tightened.
Not to mention the myth of Icarus, predicts that you will at some point fall. And when you do, I want you to know this, remember this, there is no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction. Now, when you're down there in the hole, it looks like failure. So this past year, I had to spoon feed those words to myself. And when you're down in the hole, when that moment comes,
She said she was my mother, as if that alone should unlock every door she had already walked through without knocking. I nodded. I know. That's why this is so hard. That part surprised both of us. Because it was honest. She tried again, said she didn't want things to stay like this. That family's fight, that I was taking things too far. And for a second, just a second, I felt that old pull, the one that says, fix it, soften it, make it easier. But then I remembered something. Peace that only exists when one person stays silent isn't peace, it's compliance. So I shook my head. This isn't about one fight, I said. It's about everything that came before it. Her eyes filled with tears. And maybe they were real. Maybe they weren't. At that point, it didn't matter. I'm not ready to fix this, I continued. And pretending we're okay today doesn't help. The silence after that felt heavy, but not confusing. She stood there for a moment longer, then slowly lowered the gift bag. And for the first time in my life,
She didn't argue, didn't correct me,
didn't reframe it. She just nodded.
turned, and left.
No dramatic ending. No final speech. Just the sound of the gate closing behind her. I stood there for a few seconds after. Not relieved, not happy, but steady. My future mother-in-law gently touched my arm and asked if I was okay. And I realized something strange. I didn't feel like I was falling apart. I felt like I was finally holding my ground. The rest of the afternoon continued. A little quieter, a little softer, but real. And when the wedding day finally came, it wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. There were no surprise appearances. No last-minute emotional negotiations. No performances. Just people who respected us. People who showed up without conditions. At one point, standing there with my husband, I looked around the room and felt something I hadn't expected. Not victory. Not even happiness in the loud, dramatic sense. Just
Calm.
because for the first time in my life, I hadn't shaped myself around someone else's expectations. I hadn't made myself smaller to keep things smooth. I hadn't traded my comfort for approval. I chose differently. And yes,
It cost me something.
family always does. But it also gave me something back. Something I didn't even realize I'd been missing. A sense that my life. There's a strange moment in life when something that used to feel like pain starts to feel like clarity. For me, that moment came when I told my parents and my sister that they were no longer invited to my wedding. No debate. No, we'll talk later. Just done. My mom reacted like I had shattered something sacred. But the truth is, I had been quietly breaking for years. She said I couldn't do this. I told her to watch me. After that call, I didn't cry. I went back to work, sat at my desk, and stared at my screen like nothing had changed, except everything had. By the time I got to the parking lot, I had already decided. No more access without respect. I called the planner, locked everything down. Passwords, guest list, security. It felt dramatic while I was doing it, and then it felt necessary. That became the pattern. Every boundary I set looked extreme, until someone proved exactly why it wasn't. My parents didn't take it quietly. My mom sent long emotional messages about betrayal, embarrassment, and heartbreak. My dad kept it short, almost worse. You're making a mistake. This will have consequences. Consequences. Like I was a child being disciplined. I almost replied immediately. I had responses ready, sharp, precise, years in the making. But my fiancé stopped me. He asked one simple question. Do you want to communicate or just bleed? I didn't like that question. Because he was right. So I waited. The next morning I called them both. I said it clearly. They were not coming. There would be no compromise. No rewritten version of events. No pretending this was just one misunderstanding. Because it wasn't.
It was a pattern.
A lifetime of being managed instead of understood. Of being corrected while someone else was rewarded. Of being told I was too much for noticing the imbalance.
My voice shook while I said it.
Not because I doubted myself, but because some part of me still wanted them to finally understand. My mom asked quietly, "Do you really want to get married without us?" And that question hurt, because the honest answer was,
No, I didn't want that.
I wanted normal parents. I wanted support that didn't come with conditions. I wanted to feel chosen without having to compete for it. But wanting something doesn't make it real. and I was done pretending it did. So I told her, I want to get married without being used. After that, everything changed. Not the situation, but my clarity inside it. Blocking them was easier than I expected. Updating guest lists, changing plans, those were just tasks. Tasks are simple. They end. Grief doesn't. Grief shows up in quiet moments. While folding laundry, while trying on your wedding dress, while watching someone else offer the kind of care you always wished for. You realize you're not mourning what you had. You're mourning what you kept hoping it would become. My fiancé stayed steady through all of it.
Calm.
Grounded. Present. Annoyingly so, sometimes. But he never pushed me to fix things for the sake of appearances. He just said, this day should feel safe. Safe. It was such a simple word. And somehow, I had never expected it from family. The weeks passed like that. Half normal life, half emotional minefield. Work deadlines didn't pause. Groceries still needed buying. Life kept moving, even while everything inside me felt rearranged. Then came the bridal shower.
Small.
Simple. Peaceful. Until my mother showed up. She walked in like she belonged there. Like nothing had happened. Like boundaries were optional if the setting was casual enough. Everything went quiet.
What you think you may have lost, but then here's the key: learn from every mistake, because every experience, encounter, and particularly your mistakes are there to teach you and force you into being more of who you are. And then figure out what is the next right move. And the key to life is to develop an internal, moral, emotional GPS that can tell you which way to go. But the challenge of life, I have found, is to build a resume that doesn't simply tell a story about what you want to be, but it's a story about who you want to be. It's a resume that doesn't just tell a story about what you want to accomplish, but why. A story that's not just a collection of titles and positions, but a story that's really about your purpose. Because when you inevitably stumble and find yourself stuck in a hole, that is the story that will get you out. What is your true calling? What is your dharma? What is your purpose? For me, that discovery came in 1994 when I interviewed a little girl who had decided to collect pocket change in order to help other people in need. She raised $1,000 all by herself, and I thought, well, that little 9-year-old girl.
You know, that kind of silence, where people don't know whether to speak or disappear. She said she only wanted a few minutes. Just a few. As if damage comes with a timer. I said no. Calm, clear, final. And then she cried. Not loud. Not chaotic. Controlled. The kind of crying meant to be witnessed. For a moment, I almost gave in. Not because she was right, but because old habits don't disappear overnight. But this time, I didn't fold. When she left, the room slowly came back to life. People talked again. Music played. But something inside me had shifted permanently. From that moment on, I stopped expecting things to get easier just because I held my ground. Instead, I accepted this. Sometimes doing the right thing feels awful. And it's still the right thing. The wedding week came. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. No chaos. No control. No emotional negotiations disguised as love. Just space. Just peace. And when I walked down the aisle, I noticed who wasn't there. Of course I did. You always do. But I also noticed something else. The people who stayed. The ones who didn't make love feel like a transaction. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't bracing for impact. For the first time that day, I wasn't holding everything together. I was just there. I stepped outside for a moment, heels in my hand, the noise of the reception fading behind me. Not because I regretted anything, but because even the right endings still feel like endings. My husband came out a minute later. He didn't ask 100 questions. He just looked at me and said, "Hey, that was it." No judgment. No fixing. No analyzing. Just me being seen without conditions. I leaned into him and said the only honest thing I had. I feel everything at once.
Happy. Relieved.
Angry. A little broken. He nodded like that made perfect sense. Yeah, he said. That sounds about right. Then we went back inside. Because the cake was being served, and after everything, I fully intended to enjoy it. Our honeymoon was simple. No big trip, no overplanning. Just a quiet place by the water, a few hours away from everything. We ate greasy breakfasts, took slow walks, and left our phones mostly untouched. Nothing about it tried to fix what had happened. And that's what made it perfect. My husband never expected me to suddenly feel whole. He let me be joyful and hurt at the same time, which, oddly enough, felt more healing than any grand gesture ever could. One morning, I checked my email. There was a message from my father. It was long,